Welcome everyone to LoreView, another episode of the series where I run through the story of the game while talking about my experience and opinions of the game as a whole. In this video, we're going to follow the story of Jango Fett as he hunts a bounty worth more than he's ever made before, while also setting up the legendary legacy of the most famous bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe. We'll be running into characters unique to this game and also some that you've probably heard of before. In any case, let's begin by talking about the game's background. Star Wars Bounty Hunter released in 2002 and received mixed reviews from critics all around, with most of the reviews being average or slightly above that. I would like to see if their critiques in the game were warranted and if I agree with any of them during my current playthrough, but we'll get into their critiques later on as we talk about the gameplay. Bounty Hunter has also just recently been remastered and released for the PC, and since this is a game that I used to play a lot on the PlayStation 2 as a kid, I figured this would be the perfect time to go through and see how it holds up. The remaster was done by the developer Aspyr, who has remastered several classics, making them playable for the current hardware, such as games like Tomb Raider and Star Wars The Force Unleashed. The remaster of this game, as per usual for Aspyr, stays faithful to the original and only upgrades the graphics, which makes it perfect for someone wanting to try out an old classic without compromising the original experience, and let me tell you, the 2002 experience is well retained in this version. Also, in case you're wondering, here's a graphical comparison between the two versions. The difference is almost night and day, as all the lines and details in the game are much more clear-cut, along with the most noticeable difference to me, Jango's Beskar armor, which has a more polished finish to it. If you were a Star Wars fan and owned a PlayStation 2, odds are you probably played the Battlefront 1 or 2 games that were highly successful in their time. I played those games at times when I definitely should have been asleep during school nights, whether it was the instant action game mode battling against my brother or the Galactic Conquest game mode in my pursuit of taking over the galaxy. I can remember vividly the excitement and amazement those games gave me at the ability to not only step into the Star Wars universe, but battle on the front lines as the coolest characters from the franchise. Now I know those games aren't the topic of this video, but I think that they're worth noting as they were the first Star Wars games that I played and also the ones that led me to play Bounty Hunter back then. Star Wars Bounty Hunter was less popular than the Battlefront games, and yet I still remember having unending joy traversing the levels of the game while using the variety of Jango Fett's abilities available in the game. Jango Fett at the time was my favorite character from the Star Wars universe and is still at the top of my list. He had a stoic demeanor, great one-liners, and boasted an arsenal within his armor. With all that to his name, nothing could be cooler to me as a kid playing a Star Wars game back in the day, but now, without wasting any more time, let's get into the game itself. Star Wars Bounty Hunter is set as a prequel to Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, and begins with the typical Star Wars scrolling text as a pretext to the game's events. The text explains that the Galactic Republic is in a state of disruption after the events of the Battle of Naboo, with chaos and corruption spreading throughout the galaxy. Following this chaos, a cult known as the Bando Gora has seized the opportunity to disrupt the galaxy's most powerful industries. Seeing this, Darth Sidious has summoned his apprentice, Darth Tyrannus, to speak about what to do next, which leads us into the intro cutscene of the game.
Master?
Lord Tyrannus, an urgent matter has arisen that must interrupt your training. The Bando Gora has become a dangerous parasite. It must be eradicated. I believe you once had the opportunity to eliminate its leader. Why did you not take it?
As an experiment?
The experiment has failed. This deranged former Jedi has no place in my vision for the future. I expect you to correct this error.
As you wish. And what of your plan for the clone army?
Our cloners require a host. You must find an ideal specimen, perhaps among the galaxy's most dangerous mercenaries.
I shall accomplish both of these tasks with a single stroke, Master.
Yes. I look forward to completing your training, my friend.
From that clip, we learn that the leader of the Bando Gora is a former Jedi that Darth Sidious seeks to eliminate in order to stop the threat that they pose to the Republic. He has tasked Tyrannus with completing this himself. To do this, Tyrannus plans to set a high-profile bounty, which would also complete the second task that Sidious has asked of him: find an ideal specimen sufficient to become the template for the clone army. With that, our journey as Jango Fett begins. Jango, having taken up a routine bounty, finds himself on the Outland Station during a pit fight between beasts. His bounty is Miko, an underworld criminal known to make a dishonest living by cheating his pit fights on the Outland Station. You find Miko sitting on the catwalks above the pit fight, controlling his beast with a controller. He is then spooked by Jango and flees the arena. After Miko runs away, Jango must defeat the remaining beast in the pit before chasing after him. After quickly dispatching the beast, you are free to leave the arena, which continues the game's rudimentary tutorial. And I say rudimentary because it explains some, but not all, the gameplay mechanics available to you. You are first introduced to the plasma cutter fitted inside Jango's arm brace, which is used to cut open grates to access areas behind them. As you move along, you are also introduced to the bounty hunting system, which entails you scanning and marking a target with your ID scanner, which will tell you if they are wanted dead or alive, before either capturing them with your grapple wire or killing the bounty to be claimed for credits. There is also a menu in the pause screen which explains this in detail. Now, you might be wondering what the credits you gained from the bounties are used for. Well, they're not used anywhere in-game, but instead unlock concept art in the extras page at the title menu. Every 3,000 credits gained unlocks a new concept art in the menu. I actually found the bounty system in the game to be more of a hindrance than rewarding, as you usually have to scan people mid-fight or capture or kill them while trying to stay alive. Regarding the extras page, there are also Wizards of the Coast trading cards that you unlock by finding Mandalorian feathers in-game, a comic book titled Jango Fett Open Seasons with 3 pages being unlocked after completing each level of the game, and a series of corny outtakes that are unlocked by completing chapters of the game. I didn't actually mind the Wizards of the Coast trading cards, but I didn't like them either. I thoroughly disliked the outtakes feature, as the scenes were so out of place and were clearly made to be just funny clips, which to me failed at doing even that. Now, the one of these features that I genuinely enjoyed was the comic book, as it actually provides some backstory for Jango and a few of the other characters who will be introduced later to us in the game. Knowing this, I would like to cover the comic book now in order to add some context to our protagonist's story and also the journey to come. It starts off showing Count Dooku interrogating a captured prisoner, Silas, who was a Mandalorian previously a part of Jango Fett's crew. Dooku wants him to tell the story of the greatest Mandalorian who's ever lived, in reference to Jango himself. Silas then goes on to explain how Jango was promoted to commander of a Mandalorian squad at a young age by Jaster Mareel, the leader of the Mandalorian clans. This clearly upset another Mandalorian, Montross, as Jango was just a child to him and he thought himself to be the clear choice for squad commander. Following his promotion, Jango was to lead his squad during a routine mission on the planet of Corta 6 to rescue a rookie security squad who were pinned down by hostile locals. Upon arriving, their ship is shot down and ambushed by the locals, who are clearly better armed and trained than they should be, leading to the Mandalorians be cut down in numbers. Jango then relays this information to Jaster before finding cover in the trenches to avoid fire. Jaster then orders a retreat while Montross comments on Jango's defensive position, implying him to be a coward while also refuting Jaster's order to retreat. Jango echoes Jaster's order to retreat, and once more Montross refuses before being pinned down by the locals and then is saved by Jaster, who then explains that Jango has used Montross's actions as a diversion in order to go after their target of the rookie security squad. Upon arriving at the coordinates, Jango finds not the security squad, but the Death Watch, a group of Mandalorian terrorists that oppose the views of the Mandalorian government. Jango determines the mission to be a setup by the Death Watch before dispatching a group of them with his flamethrower. Jaster and Montross, who have now been greeted by the leader of the Death Watch, Vizsla, are at odds with each other, as Jaster says Montross is out of the crew for his reckless actions of not following orders. Jaster then orders Montross to provide an airlift. Montross once again refuses and allows Jaster to be killed by Vizsla. Montross then proclaims himself the leader of the Mandalorians, only to be refuted by Jango, who he had presumed to be dead. The other Mandalorians refuse Montross's claim to power and stand by Jango, who is carrying Jaster's body to the ship. Montross disappears and Jango becomes the leader of the Mandalorians. Silas's interrogation then ends with Dooku ordering his droids to kill him, as his usefulness has just run out. Now, I apologize for the long-winded backstory, but I promise this will provide much-needed context for the game, and I felt that this should have been available to the player before starting the game anyways. Now we go back to the action on Outland Station. Once you've killed off several of Miko's thugs, you arrive at the upper level of the station where you find the first blue hologram, which acts as a checkpoint for when you die. The checkpoint and respawn mechanics in this game were very confusing, as they were never once explained within the game, and I truly didn't understand it until much later in my playthrough. When respawning, all your progress is saved instead of resetting, meaning all enemies that have been killed will still be dead and anything you've picked up will remain in your inventory. This differs heavily from many recent games which would have had the level reset entirely and definitely caught me off guard once I noticed this was the case. Along with this, it also seems that whenever a cutscene plays within a level, your lives reset back to 5. Furthermore, once you make your way through the station, you finally reach the outside area which ends the level and begins the next. You find one of Miko's thugs who agrees to lead you to his location while you point both pistols at the back of his head. This guy moves so slow, stopping every few seconds to remind you that he is cooperating. Luckily, it's not long before you reach Miko's hideout where he then orders his several thugs to kill you. This is to no avail as you dispatch of them quickly and make your way through the winding streets of the station where you find Miko stealing a speeder from a vendor before taking off. Jango then also greets the vendor, who happens to have Jango's own jetpack, which was seen to be smacked off the back of him during the pit fight scene in the beginning of the game. Jango does what any bounty hunter worth their salt would do and orders the vendor to hand it over or pay the ultimate price.
No, I'll accept 500, no less.
500 for a used delivery speeder? You're crazy. It's not worth more than 250.
It's in great shape, runs like new. It's an SP3 for crying out loud. Think of how much you could haul with it.
All right, look, I can offer 300, but that's it.
350.
All right, 350. Hey! Somebody's stealing my speeder! I want my money back!
You bought it, pal. It's your problem now. Maybe you could go after him with this jetpack. I'll make you a deal.
I don't have any money left.
How about you? Interested in a jetpack? Barely a scratch on it. It'll look great with that battle armor. It's same color even.
I'll take that off your hands.
How much you offering?
Your life.
Hey, I just found the thing. Don't shoot me. Take it.
I still have no idea how neither the vendor or the customer noticed the big-bodied Miko hopping into the speeder less than 6 feet away from them, but that's neither here nor there. Now having your jetpack, you are able to fly along the rooftops following Miko's speeder in a convoluted chase across the station where I got lost multiple times, which will also be a theme going into the game. The game doesn't have any markers or sense of where you should go other than the seldom found blue checkpoint markers, which causes a lot of confusion when trying to discern where to go next. Anyways, you track Miko to a factory full of conveyor belts and exploding barrels, which you can use to destroy force fields blocking your entry to the next areas. I would like to add that as a kid, this was as far as I ever got in the game, which might sound odd given the praise I remember giving it as a child, but I think that this should speak to the game's lack of direction to the player, as I just simply did not know how to progress. This was also one of the main gripes the critics had with the game, along with another that I share, which is that the camera controls feel like they are constantly fighting you. The Y-axis of the camera is always trying to return to the default position, which makes it extremely difficult to move and look around in the vertical direction. Now, being an adult, I did eventually figure my way through the level, but I just thought that I would throw that in there because it was one thing that the critics were talking about that I also agreed with. At the end of the factory, you find Miko in his ship trying to escape. You then must destroy the ship in a pseudo-boss battle. This is done with ease by using the lock-on feature activated by clicking in the right joystick. Once Miko is captured, Jango decides he is worth more alive, and Roz, Jango's bounty fixer, turns in the bounty while Jango returns to her in person. Roz then explains that Jango has received a personal message, which is then played to you.
A transmission came for you. It's personal. I didn't even peek.
Greetings, Jango Fett. I am Tyrannus. I have a proposition for you. You are one of a select few chosen to participate in a special hunt for a special prey. If you succeed, the reward will be in the amount of 5 million Republic credits.
5 million? Wow, that could make you for life. Who's the poor sap with that kind of price on his head, huh?
You mean her head?
You are to locate and capture Komari Vosa, dead or alive, the deranged leader of the Bando Gora.
No, Jango. Not the Bando Gora. It's too dangerous even for you.
Like you said, this hunt can make me.
Or break you. No bounty hunter who set out after the Bando Gora has ever returned.
Worried about losing your finder's fees?
Now that's not fair. You know I worry about you.
What else do you know about this Bando Gora?
Only rumors. It's a very secretive organization. They're everywhere and nowhere at the same time. I heard they're behind the new death stick craze.
Death sticks are big in Coruscant's underworld.
Oh, that reminds me. There's a bounty for a death stick dealer on Coruscant. He's small time, though. Ha, probably not worth the effort.
If he's in with the Bandagora, it's a good start.
I don't know. I've got a bad feeling about this one, Jango.
What else is new? See you around, Ross. I may need your help. Keep in touch.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if you ran into Montross on this hunt.
I'd be surprised if I didn't.
After that scene, it was shown that Montross has also been invited by Tyrannus to search for Komari Vosa, meaning that we will most likely run into him while on the hunt for the Bandagora's leader. With that, the first chapter of the game is finished, and now the true hunt of the game begins. Chapter 2 starts with another cutscene where Roz pokes fun at Jango's relic of a ship, to which Jango rebuts by saying it was Jaster Mariel's old ship. Now you can see why I went over the comic earlier, as now we know who all these characters mentioned are. The first level of the chapter takes us to Coruscant to track down a man known as Jervis to gain more knowledge of a drug known as death sticks that the Bandagora has been distributing. The city of Coruscant is where I really took the time to enjoy the remastered graphics, as I was truly reminded of the universe I was in. It is also the easiest level in the game that I found to find wanted bounties, as they are usually the characters standing by themselves and not moving, making them stick out like a sore thumb among the other moving NPCs. After about 10 minutes of running around, I was able to track down the warehouse and let myself in before taking out the many thugs that Jervis had stationed there. You then enter a bar where you interrogate the bartender, who says he has nothing to offer you. You threaten him, and he says that he will activate the lift for you right before alerting the whole city's populations of thugs of your location. You must then make a stand at the bar, killing off dozens of men before chasing after Jervis through the streets of Coruscant, reminiscent of your chase with Miko, though thankfully shorter. Finding Jervis, you wrap him up with your grapple wire and interrogate him. Jervis gives up the name of his employer, Groff Hogg, who runs a nerve-packing plant in the industrial sector. Taking Jervis's speeder to the plant, Jango acquires a sample of the death sticks and relays the information to Roz, who then says that the sticks have an unusual neurotoxin in them that is untraceable. In order to reach Groff, you must first cross the plant using these moving cargo containers, which proved extremely difficult for me, as I died probably 4 or 5 times, causing me to have to restart the level before getting to the next area. Once you reach Groff Hogg's location, you are finally met with Montross himself, who then tells you that you're both after the same thing and that he is still a step ahead of you. This leads to a duel between the two of you, where Jango wins and Montross flees the plant while Jango investigates for himself. After finding a recording that a senator sent to Groff, Jango decides to search for the corrupt senator next. Your search for the senator leads you to the upper city of Coruscant, where you must locate the senator's private apartment. After platforming around the city and making your way to the apartment, Jango finds the senator and holds him over the edge of the building before he gives up the name of a man named Sebolto, who has been using the senator to move the modified death sticks for the Bandagora. He also tells you that Sebolto is located on Malastare and then demands Jango to let him down.
Please don't kill me! Anything you want, name your price!
Komari Vosa, where is she?
Vosa? I don't know any Vosa! Ah!
You were saying?
Sebolto, our supplier, he asked me to move a new kind of death stick for the Bandagora. I don't know anything more. He knows. He's on Malastare. Ah, let me go!
Release the senator, or we will open fire!
Do what he says, bounty hunter.
Release him, now!
As you wish.
No, wait!
Blast him!
You then defeat the ship using a fully automatic grenade launcher and leave Coruscant in search of Sebolto. Roz tells you about a bounty that Sebolto placed for a man named Fust, so that you can bring him in as a gift, hoping for information on the Bandagora in exchange. The only catch is that the bounty is currently being held in a maximum security prison where no prisoner has ever escaped alive. After speaking with Roz, a cutscene plays showing Komari Vosa talking to a cult follower, where he explains that Jango has been causing trouble for the cult by removing valuable assets such as the senator. Arriving at the prison where Fust is being held, Jango fights his way through before talking with a worker who is oddly cooperative in helping him find his bounty. They later explain that this is the most fun they've had on the job and that they don't care what Jango is doing there. Afterwards, the worker tells Jango the bounty's location, and they even offer to take him to the level that they are being held on. You make your way through the prison's lower level and find Fust, only for him to be captured by another bounty hunter named Zam. After following her outside the prison, Jango finds the fellow bounty hunter trying to hijack his ship. Jango confronts her, and they broker a deal to split the bounty if they work together to get off the asteroid prison. Jango's ship gets destroyed right before another ship flies over them in the sky, which we know to be Jango's future iconic Slave 1 ship. Jango then proclaims that the ship will be his and asks Fust where the hangar is. Fust tells him, but he also says that since the prison is in lockdown, they stand no chance of escape while the shield is up. Jango asks the previously met prison worker for some help, to which they explain that he must destroy the 3 cooling cores to take down the shield. This section was super confusing to me, causing me to unnecessarily backtrack while trying to find the cores that needed to be destroyed. Come to find out, the game has suddenly decided that you need to kill every enemy in the area in order for the door you need to go through to be unlocked. I really wish the game gave some kind of indication that this is what needed to happen, because I spent way too much time running around the prison not knowing that the enemies I found were not going to respawn like they had in previous sections, and that they all needed to be killed in order to progress. After figuring this out and dying enough times to be forced to restart the level back to the beginning, I was moderately frustrated, but eventually I found all the locations of the cores. You must make your way down to the cooling cores where you fight tooth and nail, killing every enemy before destroying each core one by one, repeating the process each time. After that, Jango and company escape with the ship and fire shots into the hangar, destroying it in the process. Jango has successfully done what was previously impossible, once again cementing his name as the best bounty hunter in the Star Wars universe. Another cutscene plays where Montross learns that Graf Hogg lied to him about Sebolto's whereabouts, and also that Jango Fett has captured Fust, who he now knows Sebolto has placed a bounty on. Following that, Jango and Zam bicker about ruining each other's bounty of Fust before leaving to turn him in. Arriving at Malastare, Jango explains his plan. Zam will deliver the bounty and gain Sebolto's favor, allowing her to stay there while Jango will be dropped off in the forest to work his way into the compound where they will regroup and work their way to Sebolto together. While on Malastare, there's a new wildlife enemy, one that looks familiar to me but I don't know the name of. All I know is that you can't let them get close to you, otherwise they will stun lock you and maul you to death, making you lose one of your precious lives. I know this all too well, as these feral beasts forced me to yet again restart another level to the beginning. After fighting your way into the compound while providing cover fire for Zam, you regroup and give her the sniper rifle so that she can return the favor. Now together, Jango and Zam form a plan to make their way back into Sebolto's palace the same way Zam came down from. These little moments with Zam and Jango are sometimes charming, and you start to think that she is growing on Jango, allowing her more trust as they work together. Yet again, this was another area where I was lost and had to run around for about 10 minutes before accidentally walking by the door I needed to go through. This door, that looked the same as many other doors that couldn't be accessed, opened up as I walked by it, allowing me to finally progress. Once again, reinforcing my point that this game does a very bad job at telling you where to go or even giving you any slight direction as to where you're supposed to go. Anyways, another cutscene shows Jango ordering Zam to do as she's told, which angers her, contradicting the feelings I had previously felt about them working together. After reaching the palace and finding Sebolto, he escapes through a secret exit and you follow him down, leading you through pipes before watching him splat against the wall and fall into a pit, killing him. Continuing through the pipes and through the rest of the compound, you fight some cultists for the first time and eventually meet up with Montross again, causing you two to fight once more. This fight is different than the last, as he is on a speeder circling the platform you are on while shooting missiles at you. You return the favor, destroying his speeder and presumably bringing Montross with it. Zam shows up in the ship and picks Jango up, calling him handsome, once again giving me mixed signals about her.
Ride, handsome.
Following their next lead, Jango and Zam head to Tatooine. They've surmised that Sebolto has been using the cartels in Tatooine to cover their trail of the Death Stick distribution. Montross, who apparently survived the previous duel, has somehow planted a bug on Jango's ship and now knows where they are off to next. After getting off a call with Roz, Jango learns that two Hutts, Gardulla and Jabba, are feuding over control of Tatooine and that one of them has to be working with the Bando Gora. Roz then explains that Jabba has placed a bounty on Longo Two Guns who they can use as an in with Jabba. Knowing this, Zam and Jango split up to investigate each of the Hutts separately. Zam will take Gardulla, while Jango will investigate Jabba. But before arriving on Tatooine, Roz asks Jango about his new ship, to which he replies that he has given it the legendary name,
She's called Slave One.
Arriving at your destination, you get to experience the Western gunslinging action that is the planet of Tatooine. This section was much more difficult than some other levels in the game because of the plethora of enemies employed by Longo Two Guns. During this level, I was constantly seeking out Bacta tanks to replenish my health and even got to the final part of it only to use up my last life and have to restart the level, another recurring theme of my playthrough. Frustrated yet emboldened, now knowing exactly where to go, I raced my way through the streets, mowing down thugs left and right before finally reaching Longo Two Guns' hideout once more. Longo goes on to explain that nobody can take him and his boys down.
Think you can outshoot me and my boys?
Right before Jango takes them down and is now ready to take him to Jabba.
Satisfactory, but not sufficient.
Talking with Jabba, he is confused that you appear before him, stating that the credits should be satisfactory. Jango replies saying that he wants information, to which Jabba says he is not in the business for. Even so, Jango asks about the Bando Gora. Jabba says that he has no dealings with them and that he should instead check out Gardulla's vault, which can be accessed with the medallion around Gardulla's neck. He also requests that you take out Gardulla without having his name associated. With discretion being Jango's specialty, he agrees and calls up Zam to tell her that he is on his way to her location. At the end of the call, Zam is heard to be captured by Gardulla's thugs, causing Jango to move forward at an increasing pace. Jango then goes along a back way into Gardulla's palace, which Jabba has told him is filled with Tusken Raiders and more wildlife hiding in holes along the canyon, ready to stunlock you into a level restart. Making your way through the canyons, you find the Tusken Raiders fighting with other thugs. You can either let them duke it out or intervene and kill them all. Either way, you eventually find Zam locked up in a cell. She tells you to let her out, but Jango says if he does, the alarm will sound, so he offers to come back for her. In response to this, Zam yells out to the guards, who then come and knock you upside the head.
Come on, let me out.
I can't risk letting you out now, or they'll sound the alarm.
Don't leave me here, Jango. Gardulla wants to feed me to her crate dragon.
I'll be back. Trust me.
Trust you? I know what you're doing. You're gonna go after Voser alone, aren't you? I thought we were partners, Fett. Guards! Guards!
Following the betrayal of your partner, Gardulla wakes you up by mocking your choice of friends, telling you that Zam is a shapeshifter, which I truly did not see coming, and then leaves you stripped of your gear to be eaten by Gardulla's crate dragon. Getting out of this situation, however, is quite easy as the dragon doesn't move and you just have to cut your way through a grate on the other side of the arena to escape. You then run around the compound, avoiding guards as you are without your gear, until you finally stumble upon a room with it all there. Geared up and ready to go, you can dispatch the guards and make your way through some large rooms filled with guards and eventually cultists too. To get through these, I just stood up on the rafters and threw grenades down at them because of their ability to stunlock you in large numbers. Eventually, you'll come upon a large court with Gardulla sitting atop their throne, to which you take their medallion and knock them down to be eaten by their own crate dragon. This then starts a battle between you and a bunch of respawning, missile-launching thugs and the crate dragon itself. My first attempt was filled with trying to kill the thugs, thinking that they would stop coming in, allowing me to focus on the dragon. This was not the case, and I was bested, once again restarting me to the very beginning of the level. After a long and arduous journey back, I made my way all the way back to the court through the compound, and on my second try, I just spammed my blasters on the dragon while dodging the missiles, and this killed it with relative ease after just a few minutes. After this, Jango calls Roz and lets her know that he has the data, but it's encrypted and she needs to decrypt it for him since his decryption software was destroyed with his previous ship. She obliges and expresses her sorrow for Zam's betrayal, saying she wished that they could have gotten together. Jango disagrees and heads down to talk with Zam in the cell he left her in. She claims she had no choice because Jango was going to leave her to die. Jango replies that that may or may not have been the case. Either way, she won't know now, and then leaves her in the cell to think about what she's done. After leaving Tatooine, Jango calls up Roz from the ship, only for Montross to be on the other end, saying that he hasn't killed Roz just yet, but that he has taken the data that Jango sent over to her. Jango threatens Montross' life and puts his ship into full gear towards Roz's location.
Ros, did you find Vosa's system? Ros, do you copy?
Sorry, Jango. Your Toydarian friend is unavailable.
Where is she?
Don't worry, pal. She's not dead. Not yet. She's a tough old bird. Took a while to get her to hand over that data.
You've just signed your death warrant.
Don't be a sore loser. It's just business, old buddy.
Another scene plays that shows Komari Vosa talking again with her cultists, saying that she has underestimated Jango and that she will now turn the tables, making the hunter the hunted. Arriving at Roz's station, Jango finds her lying on the ground in a critical...
Roz, I know. I look terrible. I told you I had a bad feeling.
I'll get you out of here.
There's no time. Montross set thermal charges. You have to get out of here fast. Vosa is on the moon of Bogdan. You might still make it. Take this. I made this before he arrived. It will guide you.
I'm sorry, Roz.
I knew the risks. Get Vosa. Collect your reward. Just find something to live for besides the money. You deserve more. Now, go. Get out of here while you still can. See you on the other side. Jango!
As sad as the loss of Roz is, we must press forward to the location of Komari Vosa. After escaping the station with his life, Jango sets off to do just that. Arriving at the moon, we begin to see that Roz has pre-recorded messages to be played to Jango in the event that she has died, and these play throughout the level, making you mourn her loss that much more. This level is also filled to the brim with cultists that swarm you around every corner. Luckily, I found that they can't jump upwards, so I just found some platforms to stand on, let them swarm around me, and fried them in mass with the flamethrower. The architecture on this moon is very spooky and reminded me a lot of a haunted manor. The buildings were gothic and run down with dark skies and fog covering the landscape, adding to the feeling of unease. After moving past the first section, you must get across a lake that hurts you if you step in it, forcing you to jetpack across the structures sticking out of the lake. Once you are across, you fight through some catacombs and eventually find not Komari, but Montross once again. He says he's been waiting for you and tells you that his plan is not to take the bounty money, but to take control of the cult in order to gain power and influence. He then states that this will be a fight to the death.
Looks like a dead end, Montross.
Been waiting for you, Jango. Thought you might not make it.
Don't write me off until you watch me die, face to face.
You've come to the right place for a burial.
You first.
The hunt's nearly over. I can smell it. Vosa's here, waiting for one of us to put her out of her misery. It'll almost be a shame to kill her. Imagine, Jango, the power to send thousands of mindless assassins willingly to their deaths, to plunge the galaxy into anarchy.
Not much money in anarchy.
The money means nothing. The thrill of the hunt drives me. The moment my prey begs for mercy. The moment I take his life. You know this better than anyone. We're the same. You and I.
Now you're just being mean.
You're going to shoot me in cold blood? It's not very sporting. Not your style. Not the Mandalorian way.
You gave up our ways, remember?
For you, I'll make an exception. Just like old times, Fett. You and me, man to man, face to face. Only now we do this to the death. May the best man win.
I am the best. Always was.
We'll see about that.
You must fight Montross for the last time, where he dons his Mandalorian helmet and employs his jetpack, flying around you while shooting his dual blasters. You are finally on a level playing field and get to take him down once and for all. Also, during this fight, if you die to Montross, a special cutscene plays.
I told you before, Vosa's bounty is mine. Save a place for me in hell, Jango.
Fighting him is pretty straightforward and only requires the use of your blasters and the lock-on ability while dodging his own attacks, as there will be no back-to-tanks to heal you. Once defeated, he gives you the same line as when you die before Jango leaves him to the cultists and moves on to search for Komari.
It's not supposed to end this way. Not like this. I deserve a better death.
Don't be a sore loser.
I'll see you in hell, Jango.
Save a place for me.
No! Jango! Come back! Fett! Damn you! It hurts me!
The level ends and you continue into Vosa's lair, the final level of the game. Once again, fighting through hordes of cultists, and once again, I employed the stand on rock and flamethrow tactic, until finally you come to the end where you are ambushed and must be defeated to progress.
The blast helmet of a Mandalore warrior. Something I've not seen since I was a Jedi. I must have cut down 20 of your kind myself. Congratulations, bounty hunter. You found me. Now tell me, who hired you? Oh, a strong silent type. I like that. More of a challenge. I once tried to resist, but the Bandagora have ways of weakening your mind and breaking your will. Soon, you will be my slave, bounty hunter. Touched a nerve. Perhaps this won't last as long as I thought. Care to join us?
Looks like she's all yours, Jango. We're even now.
Save your strength. Stay here.
Back in a minute.
Zam makes another appearance. Having escaped her cell, she followed you to the moon and saves you before Vosa can torture you, allowing your escape and your pursuit of Komari to continue. You then must make your way through tunnels and corridors while Vosa taunts you telepathically until finally you stand against Komari Vosa herself, your 5 million credit bounty, who dual wields red lightsabers and will cut your head off if you fail to best her. The best way to defeat Vosa is to spam your pistols at her until she blocks. She won't stop blocking until you stop shooting, so you have to stop in order to damage her again. Once she stops blocking, continue to evade her using your jetpack and lock-on ability while still spamming your pistols. Do this until she runs through the back exit and follow her through, starting the next phase of the fight. During this stage, nothing really changes but the setting, and the strategy I stated still stands and should get you through the final fight with ease. Tyrannus will join you after Vosa is defeated and tell you about how she was once his pupil who has gone rogue. He then goes on to explain how he was the one who placed the bounty on her head to deal with the Bandagora and also to serve as a test, for if any bounty hunter could best a former Jedi, they would surely be the best candidate for the clone army template. Now all you have to do is enjoy the final cutscenes.
Which will it be, bounty hunter? Dead or alive? He is here.
Congratulations, bounty hunter.
Tyrannus.
I'm impressed. No ordinary man can defeat one trained in the Jedi arts, especially one trained by me. Komari Vosa was once an excellent pupil, if a bit unstable.
You knew Vosa was here.
I thought she might one day prove a valuable ally. Instead, she became a liability.
If you could have easily killed her before, why put a price on her head?
To find you. This contest brought you to me.
I'll collect the reward now.
Of course, of course. 5 million, was it? Or much more, if you'll come with me to Camino to be cloned.
You want to clone me?
Imagine an army of clones, the training of which you will oversee. They will be modified to grow at twice the rate of ordinary men, and will be programmed for absolute loyalty. They will be magnificent, perfect warriors, like you.
What makes you think I'd be interested?
A chance at immortality, to pass on your ways to an army crafted in your image. A great deal of money. How could a man such as you not be interested?
I'll accept your offer, Tyrannus, on one condition.
And that is?
I want the first clone for myself, unmodified.
Might I inquire as to why?
You might.
Very well. Consider it done. We have a deal then, Jango Fett.
Deal.
Guess you got her, huh?
You could say that.
So, we're going to split the bounty 50-50, right?
Don't push your luck, Sam.
As you just saw, Jango accepts Tyrannus' offer on the condition that he gets to keep the first clone unmodified. By doing this, Jango fulfills Roz's dying wish when she told him to find meaning in his life other than bounty hunting. This will be done by him keeping the first clone, and as we know, he will raise him as Boba Fett. By completing the story, you also unlock the ability to replay the game as Boba Fett, yet the game will still refer to you as Jango. Anyways, we've finally gotten to my final thoughts on the game. I think once you get past the janky camera controls and start to understand the level design, you can have some genuine fun like I found myself having at times throughout the game. Though it is the story of the game that truly kept me playing, I also really loved the characters. Even though Zam and Jango's relationship was all over the place, I enjoyed seeing the betrayal and comeback of her, as I never saw what was going to come next regarding her. The loss of Roz definitely hit hard, as you had built a relationship with her throughout the game through the dialogue that Jango and her shared. It goes without saying that I definitely enjoyed her as a character. Montross' reoccurring appearances while tailing after Jango were hit or miss for me, but the final fight and dialogue made it worth it. Komari was a formidable antagonist whose chase led me through the galaxy fighting different factions and finding clues about her whereabouts. The characters I met throughout the chase were interesting enough to keep me immersed in the story, as well as keeping the game's encounters variable and overall fun to play. Finally, the overarching plot of Darth Tyrannus masterminding Jango's journey and having him become the clone template was a great origin story of the clone army. Now, with the story behind us, it is worth mentioning that many fans regard the game as dubiously canon, as many things within the game do show back up in the universe, like the Slave One, Jango becoming the clone army template, Boba Fett, and even Komari's lightsabers, which show back up in the possession of Asajj Ventress. There are still a lot of things that are contradicted later in the Star Wars universe, which to my knowledge has left the game being included in the Star Wars Legends expanded universe. Overall, I would say that this game was very much worth me coming back to play, even with the headaches that it gave me along the way, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody who is thinking about playing it. Now, with the game finished and my review over, I would like to thank you all for joining me on another video. If you enjoy this kind of content, please leave a like and subscribe for more. Leave a comment on what game I should do next, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.